Hi y'all, welcome back to the channel. I hope you all are doing absolutely wonderful. So today I am in the neighborhood of Newcrest to build a little tiny house village, sort of so to speak. I'm going to be building this for three best friends who have just decided to move onto the same lot and build three little small houses. They're just exactly what they need, not too big, not too small, just very cute and cozy. I've been very inspired on Instagram lately to start with some tiny house builds. I've done a few in the past just for me that have turned out all right, but some of you all just create the most absolutely beautiful, cute little tiny houses. And so I'm going to try to be including some of those into my builds here in the next little bit. But anyway, I'm setting them up right now. I gave them all a similar floor plan. When it comes to the diagonal, like building stuff on the diagonal plane, it's really hard to make it exactly the same as things that are looking, straight on or ahead. So the two on the ends have a slightly different floor plan than the one in the middle. The one in the middle is a little bit skinnier, but they still turn out pretty much exactly the same. They're all extremely cute. I'm pleased with how these turned out. I really am. The roof line, I struggled a lot with the roof line. You're going to see me try out all kinds of different things, but I end up just going with the gabled roof and then like little porch overhang. But I chose to make each one of these one solid color primarily. So pretty much all of the decorations are going to be either yellow, green, or blue, depending on which house the stuff is in. I also chose a wood color for each of these houses to be an accent. So for the yellow, I chose dark woods, and for the green, I chose a medium tone, and for blue, I went with white. I think the dark blue with the white just looks absolutely wonderful. I'm not sure which house ends up being my favorite. I like little bits of each of them. Green is my favorite color, so I'm a little bit partial to that. But anyway, I should have cut out more of this roof issue that I was having, but like I said, I end up being happy with it. The porches on these tiny houses are very small. I end up not having really any room to put any decorations on them, but I do go a little bit crazy with the backyard. I end up making a custom gazebo for them to hang out in, and just a little place in between two of the houses with a picnic table, and it looks really cool. I kind of had me and my two best friends in mind while I was making this. Be like, oh, wouldn't this be great to like live with my two best friends on this, in this city, and be able to hang out all the time and go to each other's houses whenever. And anyway, it was really fun to build. But I'm trying to lay out the floor plan for the three houses right now. The bathrooms are very, very tiny. I'm going to have to play test to see if your sim can actually get between the toilet and the shower. I haven't play tested any of these yet, but I plan to, and I'm going to make adjustments based on, what my sim can do. But I'm giving them little stairs to go in the front, and I do give them all the same doors, just in the three different wood colors that I was talking about earlier. Those are cats and dogs doors. Those are my favorite doors in the entire game. I use them for probably 75% of my builds. They're so cute. They're little barn doors, and I think they're wonderful. I'm really pleased with the cats and dogs pack. If you can't tell, it's definitely my favorite so far that I've gotten. But anyway, just trying to make these houses sort of flow. I want to make it look like they were intentionally built or placed here for the Sims to hang out with one another and, have adjoining sidewalks and things like that. I don't get to the sidewalks until a little bit later in this build. This is a long build, by the way. I think I'm clocking in at about half an hour, even with the sped up footage. So you're in for the long haul. Sit back and enjoy, relax. We'll get there. It'll be great. But yeah, I wanted to make like really big windows, or at least have windows be a really pivotal part of these houses to make them look a little bit bigger. So I made sure to have a lot of natural light with these houses. I put those big windows up there in the front that you can see. And then I try to put windows anywhere that they make sense along the outside. Just like I said, to make it look like they're bigger inside than they are. But I think they turn out really, really cozy. I believe, let me see. I believe I start with the yellow one first. I should be getting to that here in a minute. But yeah, just putting the windows on the outside, making sure that everything looks as similar as possible to each other, which really was a struggle. These houses took me a long time to get to a point where I was happy with them. But here I am jumping into the yellow house. getting some paint on the walls. I went with that light yellow to make it a little bit understated, and like I said, with the dark wood tones that I chose to accent the yellow with. Going in for the cabinets, I went with the Parenthood cabinets, of course, putting some lights in there. There we go. I went with the Parenthood cabinets for all 3 of these builds, actually. I found swatches that worked pretty well. These, I couldn't find a yellow swatch for the cabinets for these, but I did find that cream color with the dark brown countertops, which I thought worked. I think it flows really well. And then the stove and the fridge with those yellow accents, I was like, perfect. I have to put those in there if I'm making a yellow house, but there I am actually switching those up. I forgot that I did that. There we go. With the cream top, and that actually does look better. Go me. And then trying to put in just a few cabinets at the top, but I decided against it, and I go with floating shelves instead, as per usual for me. I do end up getting rid of one of those floating shelves way on down the line. When I was making the other houses, I realized that I preferred just one floating shelf. I think I was able to put more things on it, and it didn't look quite so, I don't know, thrown together. I think I was trying to put too much clutter on these shelves, and it didn't really actually work. It was looking a little bit too, like I said, it was a little bit too crowded. So I got rid of one of those floating shelves, but not before I cover it with clutter. I was really struggling with these shelves. I usually struggle with the floating shelves. It's real hard on the PlayStation 4 to try to get the move objects cheat work correctly. Everything always cuts into the wall. It always snaps, even when, sometimes when things aren't there. So I was really struggling with trying to get things to look good on these floating shelves, but also I successfully accessed the debug menu for the first time. I've been trying on the PlayStation 4. I've been watching tutorials and it's never worked, and it finally worked. So I've got I kind of went a little bit crazy with the decorations because I had just accessed the debug menu. But I do get rid of a lot of those. I put that little knife block up there. I thought it would be nice for this little tiny kitchen to put some of the kitchen utensils on the shelf. I just thought it worked. Cookie jar and that cute little pitcher with the utensils in it. It's my favorite. I'd put it in probably all my builds, and then the dish rack and those little and those flowers, which I think I end up putting somewhere else. But anyway, just trying to get the kitchen the way that I want it. Those like bird pictures with the feather, I'm going to be using those a lot. Those are very cute. They work with exactly the type of builds that I like to do. So putting in a little bit of artwork and a rug in the kitchen, trying to make it look really cozy, and then move on to the bed and living room area for these for these builds. I end up going with my favorite single bed in the entire game is that wrought iron one that I think it came with cats and dogs. Oh my goodness, it is so cute. Anytime I have a kid's room, I always use that bed. And then using the short and tall dresser that we got with cats and dogs to put the TV on, and those flowers and just a few books, I believe, is what I end up going with. And then I decide for these builds to put a desk with a computer in, facing the wall right there on the side of the dresser. I think it's important for these Sims to have computers, especially since, they really don't have too much else in their house to keep them occupied. So I decided to give them all a computer. Pretty much everything matches each other in these builds. I use pretty much the same type of beds and the same type of like bathroom stuff and things like that, just in the 3 different colors. But here I am picking some tile for the yellow bathroom. I think those floor tiles came with vampires, but I'm obsessed with them. They are so pretty. They're not scary at all. They're actually incredible. I will use them all the time. Putting a door to the bathroom, and I kept the bathrooms extremely limited. Like I said, it's probably not big enough for your Sim to walk around, knowing how much room your Sims need. But I am going to play test that, and I'll probably have to end up making adjustments. But for now, I think it works pretty well. It works in terms visually, at least. So, but just putting in a mirror, and I think that's pretty much it for the yellow house. I do come back and make a few changes. I sat on this build overnight and I let it sit, and then I came back and I had a few things that I wanted to adjust once I finished. But I do put some artwork in right now. I went, of course, for the yellow flower picture and a couple of other things that had yellow accents, but I was primarily looking for pictures that came in a frame that had that dark wood in it. But yeah, so I put a lot of artwork on these walls. I think it helps fill out the space a little bit. I do end up putting a bookshelf in the other house. So, your Sims can't be 3 separate households, obviously, and live on the same lot. But I do plan on making these 3 Sims in the same household and just letting them claim the different beds. But I do put a bookshelf in the greenhouse so that if, one Sim does want to read, they do have access to books. I'm not just going to leave them without reading. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to be moving on to the greenhouse now, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, here we go. Trying to figure out some paint colors there. I was experimenting with the bathrooms. There's no way to make them bigger and not undo what I've already done. But yeah, putting in those medium wood tones now for this green. I thought it worked with the kind of green that I went with. I went with like sort of a dusty, like grayish green for the interior at least. A note on the exterior paint colors. So I originally went with that like sort of siding, like the shiplap sort of siding for the exteriors for these builds. And they all come in those like sort of pale gray dusty colored, shades. But I do end up getting rid of those and replacing them with the more vibrant colored like paint to put on the exterior here. Just because I wanted it to, especially from an exterior point of view, I want it to be very dramatic. And then when you go inside, the tones lessen up a little bit. So that's what I end up doing here a little bit later on. But I am starting to work on the kitchen in the greenhouse. As you can see, I have already reverted to doing 1 floating shelf instead of 2. And I'm putting a few little, nicks and knacks up here. I do go a little bit less crazy with the decorations in the greenhouse and the blue house as well, just because I want it to be really clean, but also workable for a Sim, especially in these little houses. You probably noticed that I did not include a sink in the bathroom, obviously because of the size. So I do put sinks in the kitchen. It works. Your Sim will be able to clean dishes and wash their hands. It'll be fine. And for this build, instead of using the knife block, I do put those knives, those wall knives up there, which also saves space and is great. And my signature little jar with the utensils in it. Oh, I love it so much. I'll say that a million times, but I won't get sick of it because it's great. And then put a little rug in and go to the bed area. Now, I use this cats and dogs bed swatch with the quilt. Oh my goodness, it is so cute. I love beds with quilts on them. I wish they worked for all of my all of the styles that I did. They're just so cute. Now for the greenhouse, what I do end up doing is I end up making it a little bit wider. I believe I changed the floor plan out just a little bit, just enough to where I have enough room to turn that dresser that I've put there sideways. There we go. Now I lessened the porch. That's what it is. To turn that dresser sideways like that so that the Sim would at least be able to get to the bed for sure. I also thought that it just made a little bit of sense. I'm not going to be able to put very many decorations on the porch as it is, so might as well make it just big enough for the Sim to get in the house. But I put some books there and a couple of little lights and a television and of course the desk to match the other one. This desk didn't necessarily come in the exact wood color or green color that I was hoping, so I went with sort of a medium wood that's close enough. And that adorable green wicker chair that is so cute, and it comes in all those fun colors. But just putting in the rug, pins, a little picture on the desk, just a couple of little clutter items and some artwork. I love the green artwork that we get. I think the colors are just so great. Green is my favorite. I'm just going to gush over it. This would be mine. If I had to choose between these 3, it would be this green one. It's just so cute. But anyway, yeah, just putting some artwork in, trying to make it flow really well. I struggled again with the artwork. Sometimes it works like with this green colors. I found several that I really liked, but I don't know. I feel like we need to be getting a little bit more artwork. I think I've said this in like some of my last builds. I need artwork in different colors that aren't so loud and brash, or at least come in different frame colors. Like that one that I just put there by the bathroom. I love that, but I was really hoping that I could get it in one in a frame that was that medium wood color that it would match everything else. But it's all right, and it looks great and is very cute. Here's where I put that floating bookshelf in there, so that all 3 of these Sims can read. And then I'm putting in that little wreath with the green accents. And then I was hoping that the vampire tile would come in green, but it does not. So I had to settle for some stone. But this bathroom, I know your Sim can get to the shower and the toilet at the same time. So celebrate. I just put in a mirror and a little rug and some towels and a little robe. And this is probably, yeah, this is the end of the greenhouse, and then I'm going to move on to the blue one. The blue one, I went with, like I said, dusty tones and the white wood accents. I really like the blue house too. It's very, very cute. But yeah, going into the kitchen, again, those Parenthood cabinets in those blue and green swatches are so, so cute. I've been playing around with sort of building my ideal home in The Sims. I've not quite nailed it down yet, but in every instance, I use those blue Parenthood cabinets because they're just great. But then I put in the white floating shelf this time, another feather accent, and then that blue sugar skull was perfect with the white. And that plate that came with Parenthood works perfectly in this build too. I end up just putting it on the counter because once again, the floating shelves were not being my friend. Yeah, putting in a little bit of artwork, some more clutter. Again, as I moved on to this third house, I was finally just like, let's just put in the minimal clutter. But I think because of that, this kitchen ends up being probably my favorite. I think it looks really clean for such a small space. I really like this. And I put that little, that coat rack and that little hat by the door. That is so, I love that item so much. Again, I use it in pretty much all of my builds, but then again, went for the quilt swatch because, my fave. And then also the same cats and dogs dresser that I used for the other two houses, as well as the TV, the books, a lamp. You know the drill by now. Just these. I love these houses. I think they are so cute. I love that they all match. I still, like, as I'm recording this, I'm still thinking of me and my two best friends living in these houses. But I did realize that I put the bed on the wrong side of of the room in order to be able to fit that desk in there. But yeah, I put that with that beautiful blue swatch for that desk. But I end up changing it to white, of course, so I can use the blue in the wicker chair. But either one of those would have looked absolutely fabulous. But putting in the computer and a couple more clutter items. I'm getting repetitive here. I apologize if I'm rambling. And if you're done listening to me talk about how to build these tiny homes. But I really like how they turn out. Again, with the vampire tile on the floor. So cute. I don't know why that came with vampires. It's not scary. It's perfect. I love it. I don't think red would fit with a haunted house, but give me that in all the colors. That is so cute. Putting in a towel rack and a bath mat. And again, that mirror that came with Vintage Glamour, I will use that any chance I get because it's perfect. And then just a little toilet paper roll and a little piece of artwork. And I think that's going to call this bathroom good. I do put that little plant in there. I realize that plant's pot does come in green and blue, so I use it in both of those houses. And then I do put another little plant up there. Half of it is clipped off because the floating shelf was not my friend. And I will stop talking about how the floating shelves were not in my favor for this build. I promise I will. But I also struggle with the blue artwork. Trying to find stuff that worked and that also came in a white frame was a little bit difficult. Things that I thought worked with the space. I really wish I had a little bit more rustic artwork. Like that one, I put it on the wall, I think in one of the houses, but it's like a fabric piece that has all kinds of different colors in it in a frame. It's very cute. I wish we had more things like that I could use, but anyhow, there you saw me get rid of the second floating shelf in the yellow house, and here I am repainting the exterior so that the colors are much more vibrant, and you can really tell in all types of light that these houses are yellow, green, and blue. I think the way that I place this lot, the sun is not in my favor, so I mess with the lighting a little bit to try to figure out how best to work on these and look at the color. But I figured I ended up with any way that I turned the light, they were all in shadows. So, but it's okay. I think they end up looking really great. So I am moving on to the exterior now. I end up drawing myself with the paint tool, a little walkway. I was trying to find the concrete, to do concrete blocks, and for some reason I could not find it. I don't know if I'm just missing it. Somebody help me and tell me where you find just the concrete blocks that you can do by tile, because it kept telling me this has to be placed inside and things like that, and I've never gotten that before. I know I've done it in the past where you don't have to use the paint tool, but if anybody has any suggestions for how to find this on the PlayStation 4, please and thank you, help me out. But I'm going to start putting a little bit of grass and flowers in. I kept the front of these houses very simple. I only use a couple types of bushes, a couple types of flowers and grass, just because the backyard is where all of the really pretty stuff is, in my opinion. So I wanted the front to be very low-key, because I don't imagine that these Sims are rich by any means. I imagine them being like in their early 20s, just starting out on their own. They decided to use their money to come together and buy a piece of land and build these little houses. So yeah, I tried to keep it very low key at the front, and then the back I do put in a gazebo and a couple of activities, which we will get to, that I'm very, very pleased with how they turned out. So happy with them. But I did do my best to try to put yellow flowers in front of the yellow house, more green and white neutral flowers in front of the green one, and then blue in front of the blue house. I think it works. They do look a little bit scattered, but it's not bad. I do try to play around with putting some things on the houses with the larger porches. So the blue house and the yellow house, I do fiddle around with trying to put a little chair and a table, but it ended up not really working with the space that I had. I was afraid that the Sims wouldn't actually be able to enter the home if I put too many things. I was going to put a couple of plants, and I think I do eventually. I think I put the barrel with the tulips. Yes, there we go. I do put a barrel of tulips on those two front porches and try to match with the blue and the yellow tones. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it for the front of this build. Yes. So I'm going to the exterior, and I saw on Instagram a couple of people actually had made these really, really cute gazebos to put in the backyards of their sim houses, and I've been obsessed. So I knew with this one, since the houses were so small and didn't take up this whole lot, I had to build a gazebo, and it just turned out absolutely adorable. I am going to be making so much more of these. They were so easy, and it's impossible not to make these cute. I swear, like, it is so cute. I cannot wait to create the Sims for these three houses and have them just come out here and relax and talk, and I can't get over it. I'll say it again. It is so cute, and I am so happy with how this turned out. But I put a couple of little benches in there. I do opt for a white floor eventually. I thought that the dark wood, it didn't work with the other white tones of this build. So I decided to put in those sort of like wooden bench seats with the cushions. I went with the blue and green. I also tried to keep with yellow, green and blue decorations for the exterior as well, and just put in a little side table with some candles. And then I strung these string lights on every single side of the gazebo except for the places where people walk in, and I cannot wait for my Sims to use this at night. I'm so pleased, so pleased with how this turned out. But anyway, yeah, just placing those lights, making sure that they look really good. And I think I put some plants in the gazebo, and I put some plants around the exterior. I was trying to make these shrubs fit on, and so I put the foundation down and tried to get them as close as possible, and then raise the foundation so that it wouldn't, click onto the top of the foundation, but it ended up doing it anyway. So I had to get rid of those hedges and get the higher ones, which when you size them down, they worked even better. So it ended up looking really good. Putting the stairs back on, and then yeah, I think I put some plants on the inside. I think I go with those plants that or those flowers that come in those trio of wicker baskets, I believe, are the ones that I go with. But oh my goodness, they're so cute. Put a wind chime in there because I play tested a couple homes with wind chimes. They're fairly new to me. I just got backyard stuff and started to use them, and they sound so nice, and it makes me happy. But yeah, I put that trio of wicker baskets in there, and then I put a couple of larger trees around. I wanted to make it seem very, not very wooded, but at least where it looked like an established plot of land and not just, something new that somebody's bulldozed. So I put a couple of large trees in the back and a couple in the front. I actually used one of the pink cherry trees. There we go. Put it in there. I think it looks really sweet. I'm just so excited to play with my Sims on this lot. I'm so happy with it. I think it looks so cute. But putting a little bit of dirt around the trees, and then I'm going to go in and put some stones and a couple of plots of grass and maybe some flowers. I can't exactly remember. I think I mainly put grass, I think, and a couple flowers around the back. But yeah, it looks really nice, I think, once all is said and done. And then I played around with the idea of putting in a pool. But I decided against it, and instead I decided to just put a couple of chairs by that tree in the back right there and a chess table, just so that they could sit out and play with one another and chat. Those like vintage shellback chairs, oh my goodness, those are so cute. I'm gonna use those a lot. And put a couple of flowers, just a little nice place to hang out. I believe, there's me attempting to put the pool in, and then just, it didn't work. It was going to be too much, I think. But I do end up deciding to put in a little area between the yellow and the green houses for them to have like sort of like a patio dinner type of deal. So I put the paving stones in there, color it in because once again I couldn't find the concrete, and then I put a little like some exterior lights, and I found these ones from City Living, and I was like, these are absolutely perfect to put in the back. I thought it really fit the 20-something vibe that I was going for. Like, this is something that I would have in my dream house with my friends. But I put in a grill and a picnic table, and I do switch out those lights for ones that are a little bit low key. I thought they were a little bit large, like you couldn't really see into the area where they're going to be having the parties, so I ended up going with something a little bit different, but I mean, it's the same thing, it's just with smaller lights. But I put in a picnic table and a bar. Here in a minute, I put in a bar and a little stereo just for them to have parties and hang out and talk and eat their dinner together. I also put a birdhouse out back. There we go. There's me switching out those lights for something a little bit more low-key. I just think it works much well with this smaller space than the larger ones did. But and put that little lantern on the picnic table. That lantern is very cute in the yellow color, again trying to keep with my yellow, green, and blue theme. And then I put in a bar and a stereo. Yes, put in a stereo. I just imagine them having wonderful parties out here. But I do put in some grass planters, and that's pretty much the end of this build. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know in the comments what you'd like to see me do next. Really appreciate you all, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye, guys.